Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Jaws is a 1975 thriller film that was directed by Steven Spielberg, and it's based on the 1974 novel by Peter Benchley. The film stars Roy Scheider as Police Chief Martin Brody, who, with the help of a marine biologist that's played by Richard Dreyfuss, and a professional shark hunter played by Robert Shaw, hunt a man-eating white shark that attacks beachgoers at this summer resort town. On June 20th, 1975, Spielberg's Jaws arrived in theaters and scared moviegoers completely out of the water. The idea for the film is adapted from that best-selling novel of Benchley's, and he based that novel on a series of shark attacks that occurred off the coast of New Jersey in 1916, and also after an incident where a New York fisherman caught a 4,500-pound shark off the coast there in 1964. Initially, he didn't call the book Jaws. He had looked at the idea of the title, the stillness in the water, the silence of the deep, and the jaws of death as titles for the novel. You can see the writer Benchley in a cameo in the film. He plays a newspaper reporter who addresses the camera on the beach. He had previously worked as a news reporter for the Washington Post before he wrote Jaws. The director, Steven Spielberg, was chosen to direct the film by producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown. They specifically chose him because of the film Duel that he had done, which featured a crazy truck driver that was terrorizing a mild-mannered guy. They thought that this film was thematically very similar to the story of Jaws, making it a perfect fit for Spielberg. Now, there really isn't a whole lot of Jaws in Jaws. The shark doesn't fully appear in a shot until about 1 hour and 21 minutes into the 2-hour film. The reason it isn't shown much is because the mechanical shark was very rarely working while they were filming. They had trouble with it continuously. So Spielberg had to create inventive ways to shoot around the non-functioning shark. A prime example of this are the yellow barrels that you see trailing around that you know are attached to the shark, but we never see the shark. Jaws was marred with so many technical problems, not just the shark not working, but the actual process of shooting in the Atlantic Ocean, which was a major chore. It was originally scheduled for a 65-day shoot, and that ended up ballooning into 159 days, not counting post-production. The pneumatic-powered shark that was built for the film weighed in at a whopping 1.2 tons, and it measured 25 feet in length. The director Spielberg took inspiration for Jaws, the mechanical fish, from his legal counsel. He nicknamed the shark Bruce. That was after his lawyer, who was Bruce Rammer, an attorney who had represented many celebrities, people like George Clooney, Robert Zemeckis, and Clint Eastwood. Richard Dreyfuss wasn't the first choice to play Hooper in the film. Spielberg initially approached Jon Voight, Timothy Bottoms, and Jeff Bridges. When none of them would commit to the role, the director's friend George Lucas suggested Richard Dreyfuss, who Lucas had directed in American Graffiti. And Robert Shaw wasn't the first choice to play Quint. When actors Lee Marvin and Sterling Hayden, the first and second choices to play this rough fisherman, turned Spielberg down, the producers recommended English actor Robert Shaw, who they had previously worked with on 1973's The Sting. Gregory Peck forced a scene to be cut from the movie. In the earlier drafts of the screenplay, Quint was originally introduced while causing a disturbance in a movie theater while he was watching John Huston's 1958 adaptation of the movie Moby Dick. That scene was shot, but actor Gregory Peck, who plays Captain Ahab in that movie, owned the rights to the film version of Moby Dick, and he wouldn't let the filmmakers of Jaws use that footage. So they ended up having to cut that scene completely out. Despite all the bloody shark attacks in the movie, the film was rated PG. Initially, it got an R rating by the board, but after they removed some of the more gruesome frames, the film was given a PG rating. The poster for the movie still reads that the movie may be too intense for younger children. Jaws was the biggest hit Hollywood had ever seen at the time. The film was the first movie release to gross over $100 million at the box office, and it was the highest grossing film of all time until Star Wars was released 2 years later. One of the opening scenes of the film took 3 days to shoot, and a lot of elbow grease to get the actions that they wanted from the swimmer in the water. The actress that you see in this shot is Susan Bacalini, and during filming, she has cables attached to a harness that was pulled back and forth by crew members along the shoreline. The director told the crew not to let her know when they were going to be yanking it back and forth, so that her terrified reaction would be genuine. When Richard Dreyfuss saw the first dailies of her performance being attacked by the shark, he told her that he was absolutely terrified at viewing it. But contrary to the rumor that her startled reactions and screams of anguish were due to her being injured from the harness that yanked her back and forth in the water, that wasn't the case. What you were seeing was her actual performance as an actress, which was extremely unsettling. The actress has recently been in court dealing with some problems from an arrest that she had back in August of 2020, and that was on battery charges. She was also charged with DUI in 2019 after crashing into another vehicle in her neighborhood. A mugshot started circulating that showed her with a wound to her forehead, and she went on to plead guilty to this misdemeanor. Rarely do you see a film that affects viewers the way this film did. It definitely caused some cinematic neurosis in viewers. People didn't want to go in the water at all after seeing it. Take a look back at this Steven Spielberg masterpiece. It's a classic. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.